Early next year, it will mark the centennial anniversary of the New Hampshire primary. Our spot at the front of the line is constantly under fire, but WMUR's Adam Sexton found out that the ability to remain first actually started with a bill that was filed 40 years ago by a Seacoast state rep.
In 2009, Jim Splain stood at the governor's side after helping to pass same-sex marriage. For the longtime Democratic state rep from Portsmouth, it was the capstone to nearly 4 decades of service under the Golden Dome.
The most important legislation I or any legislator can sponsor are those that affect people's lives directly.
By that measure, a bill Splain filed in 1975 could be one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in state history.
America speaks at the polling booths.
The premise was simple. The first-in-the-nation primary used to be held on town meeting day. Splain's House Bill 73 would uncouple the two, allowing the primary to move. Controversial national issues would no longer overshadow town business. But Splain was also worried about talk from Ted Kennedy supporters of a regional primary.
And I thought that a regional primary of New England states would just totally forever dilute and eliminate the first-in-the-nation status that New Hampshire had. And I thought that we needed that primary because we really contributed in New Hampshire to ending a war in 68 and 72. And so I sponsored the bill.
What was the reaction? Were people saying, well, this is going to cost more money? What were people saying?
There was a bit of a sigh. I think a lot of Democrats and Republicans in the 75 legislature were thinking, well, do we really need to worry about being first anymore? Didn't get a lot of support at first when I sponsored it in 75, early in 76, but it eventually passed the House, got support in the Senate. Governor Meldrum Thompson, who was thinking of running for president himself, became an unusually strong supporter of making sure that New Hampshire would stay first in the nation. And we approved it, and from 76 on, it's been able to protect New Hampshire's first status.
Today, House Bill 73 is viewed as a cornerstone of the primary.
It's about preserving democracy and having a state, and New Hampshire is as good as any, better than most, I think, but a state that's kind of small, where candidates, without national networking, without a lot of funds, although it's costing much more even just to put on a small campaign for president now, have a chance to be able to run and do well. And I can make the case that Jimmy Carter would not have been president in 1976. Ronald Reagan, I paid for this microphone, Mr. Breen, John Breen, who was moderator at the time, or Bill Clinton, comeback kid, coming in second in 1992. I can make a case that they would not have been president without having the first-in-the-nation primary where they could come to the state, talk with instead of tour at us, and get enough support to become winners.
In Portsmouth, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
And one authority on this matter, Secretary of State Bill Gardner, says without Jim Splain's House Bill 73 becoming law, the primary as we know it today would not exist.